It's your theme song, Sam.
On that note, I'll call the meeting to order. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We please have roll call.
Mrs. Lee?
Here.
Mr. Davis? Here. Mr. Bundle?
Here.
Mrs. Rail?
Here.
Mrs. Medina? Here. Mr. Krings?
Here.
Mrs. Head?
Here.
Thank you, Maureen. Next, we'll move on to the minutes.
Just a minute. I make a motion that the regular Board of Education meeting minutes of July 11, 2016 be approved as printed.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes of the regular Board of Education meeting of July 11, 2016. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Minutes are approved. Do we have any comments tonight, Maureen, from the system?
No.
Okay, we can move on to committee reports. John, could you start us out with business?
Yes, thanks, John. Business Services met on August 1st at 6 o'clock and 20 seconds. And we have one consent agenda item. That was a 66.03.01 inter-district agreement, of which the numbers look big, but there was 42 students from Point and 45 students total from Point and Tomorrow River school districts. However, both districts have requested that we do it every year as far as doing that request. So there's probably only about 20 new students on that, so 21 had already been within our virtual program.
I don't know if Tomorrow River has requested that.
So Stevens Point. Stevens Point did? Just Stevens Point requested that every year we do the 6603 for the amount of students. But we did increase some students there. So with that, the committee recommends and I move that we approve the 66.03.1 inter-district agreement.
Okay, motion and second to approve the S1, the 66.03.01 cooperative agreement. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, in the balance of our meeting, we have updates and reports, some purchases update with Jago network software. We've had some virtual school software. We also had some contracts with our Honeywell people for the heating and ventilation, and which they stayed at the same pricing. And we also got a really good deal on the, that's the thing. That's the deal, I'll wait for that. Then we also had the purchases update, which was the supply goods, general office, facility supplies, paper, and nursing supplies. We also had a purchases update on the new van for the special ed, special ed deliveries. And then we are going to use the previous van that was being replaced, which is the 2006 van, for the new position of inter-district deliveries for that purpose. Then we also, our last look was a 4-year contract for network protection, and we did score a fairly good contract price. The original pricing was $100,000+, and with the discounts we got it for $42,222 for the 4-year contract. And with that, I submit the balance of our report for approval.
Okay, we have motion and second to approve the business service meeting minutes of August 1st, 2016. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Minutes are approved. Thank you, John. We'll move on to personnel services.
Personnel Services met August 1st, and we had no public comment at that meeting. From that meeting, we have 2 consent agenda items. We have appointments and resignations, and I'd like resignations held out. The committee recommends and I move to approve the 2 professional staff appointments and the 2 support staff appointments.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and second to approve PS1. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And from the second consent agenda item, the committee recommends and I move to approve the 1 professional staff resignation and the 4 support staff resignations.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion second to approve PS2. All those in favor, please say aye.
But I wanted it voted separately.
Okay.
Oh,
That's why
I see,
did that.
okay.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion approved.
Okay, and then we had an update on the employee assistance program, the activity and utilization. Did you guys get a copy of this or no? The charts and things, it's kind of interesting. All district employees are eligible for this employee assistance program. There's an annual fee of between $7,000 and $8,000. We pay ministry help for this. And just basically, the primary presenting problems that they have discovered was marital relationships, 30%, anxiety, depression, 30%, family parenting, 10%, personal issues, 15%, and others, 15%. On client type, we had employees 60%, dependents 15%, spouse and partner 15%, and others 10%. And referred by, 50% are self-referral, that they decided that they needed this help. Family members are 25%, human resources 10%, promotional materials is 10%, and others are 5%. Closing recommendations, additional sessions if needed are 91%, and referral to outpatient services within our organization's insurance network is only 9%. So it shows that I think it's being used very wisely, and I think it's a great benefit for our employees.
There's some feedback, so just
Oh,
a lot.
No, it's fine.
It's just, sorry.
Yeah, it's just annoying.
No, it's been.
okay. With that, I move that the meeting minutes of August 1st be approved as printed.
Second.
Okay, motion is second to approve the committee meeting minutes from the Personnel Service Committee of August 1st, 2016. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Minutes are approved.
And then I move to approve the special open and closed session committee meeting minutes of July 13th, 2016.
Second.
Okay, we have motion is second to approve the special open and closed session committee meeting minutes of July 13th, 2016. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Thank you, Sandy. We'll move on to educational services. And
The Educational Services Committee also met on August 1st, and we had no public comment. We had 4 consent agenda items, and does anyone want any of those held up? Okay, then I'll go right on to the first one, which was Kathy, it was about Board Policy 321, school calendar, and Board Policy 322, school day for the first reading. Kathy Stebbins-Hintz, our Director of Curriculum and Instruction, explained the reason for changes in both policies. Wisconsin statutes and the administrative code eliminated the number of instructional days, which had been 180 required, and instead focus on instructional hours in a school year. Board Policy 322 will be eliminated, as Policy 321 will incorporate this information. Our next consent agenda item was about the fuel education contract renewal, and Kathy explained that this was the 3rd year the district will be using fuel education at the secondary level. And this is a library of online courses and a library of resources, which are heavily used by the secondary students. And so we made a motion to approve renewal of the fuel ed contract at a cost of $21,500 to be paid for from the following budgets: virtual school, Lincoln High School, East Junior High School, Wisconsin Rapids Area Middle School, and the WRPS curriculum account or budget. Okay, and then we went on to the Renaissance Learning contract renewal, and Kathy distributed copies and reviewed the contract from Renaissance Learning. She explained that the contract wasn't available until just before the committee meeting, as it was being negotiated up until that time. There was discussion regarding the cost of the products and license enrollment requirements for the licenses. But we did approve the renewal of the purchase of Renaissance Learning products for the 2016-17 school year to be paid for from referendum funds and not to exceed the cost of $50,302.36. The fourth consent agenda item was about reading and writing project contracts. And Kathy reviewed the purchase of the writing units of study. The district is moving to a workshop model of writing instruction and the need for professional development for teachers as a result of this. Trainers will be here from New York, August 21st and 23rd for grades K through 5 teachers. And we move to approve the contract set out in attachment D with the Reading and Writing Project Network LLC at a cost of $11,000 to be paid for from Title I and Title II funds. With that, the committee recommends and I move adoption of the 4 consent agenda items.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve ES1 through ES4. Marie, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Mrs. Lee?
Yes.
Mrs. Heck?
Yes.
Mrs. Rayle?
Yes.
Mrs. Medina?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Krings?
Yes.
Mr. Bembo?
Yes.
Thank you, Marie.
Okay, then we went on to some updates, and the first one was about seclusion and restraint. That's our annual report on that, and Glenn Hopt, Director of Public Pupil Services, reviewed data which summarizes the district's compliance with regulations related to seclusion and/or restraint. It was noted that there are fewer incidents this year. Glenn also shared a copy of the directives from DPI on how to report incidents. Discussion took place regarding how staff handle confrontations. The district continues to provide training and education for staff. Then we went on to discuss the achievement gap reduction annual report, and Kathy shared a handout and discussed information with the committee on how the district met AGR contract requirements. And finally, we talked about the Vesper Community Academy student enrollment and staff configuration. Dr. Colleen Dickman, our superintendent, Ryan Christensen, Director of Human Resources, and Jennifer Wilhorn, Principal of Vesper Community Academy, shared current enrollments and staffing options for Vesper Community Academy. It was noted that this was simply a sharing session, so the board was aware of the low enrollment and the staffing challenges. With that, the committee recommends, and I move that we accept the balance of the Educational Services Committee minutes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes of the Educational Services Committee of August 1st, 2016. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. It's approved. Thank you, Ken. We'll move on to agenda referrals, information requests. Do we have anything this month? Okay, how about legislative agenda? John, is there anything going on?
Well, there really isn't a whole lot right now. WRS contribution rates will increase January 1st, so to a total of 13.6%, which is a 0.4% increase in personal payroll. So basically, the employer share goes up to 6.8, and the matching was 6.8. Talking about ESAA accountability system may be bumpy. August 1st was an important date for 2 reasons. It marked the expiration date of the accountability waivers to states granted by the U.S. Department of Education, and it marked the deadline for interested parties to file comments on the USED's proposed rule on accountability. The USED received more than 20,000 comments on its draft rules on accountability, which was arguably the most controversial part of this ESSA billing. So they really haven't decided dates yet, which is kind of weird, but they're talking to all schools to be first identified for improvement in 2018-19 based on 2017 and 18 data. but nothing has been written firmly, so there's a lot of things up in the air yet as far as accountability goes. Killing schools. The next part was basically they're talking about voting, which we have an upcoming vote. August 9th, correct? Tomorrow. So we'll vote on that. And then the last part that they had in here was just basically accountability, advocacy, and trying to get who you, as far as a bunch of good legislators, and how you want to align with your legislators, and for advocacy. Very basic. And then the only other part they had on here was the governor mentioning about the budget and basically how he's asking everybody to hold through, but then they're talking about an increase in public education, which I really almost had to bite my tongue when I read that, saying where was that going to go, to voucher schools, or it doesn't say anything. And it doesn't seem very positive to me reading it, because it's so vague and so open. That's all I got.
What's the latest on what you need to vote for?
Tomorrow's primaries for the races.
I think you still need a ID tomorrow.
Yes.
I'm not sure about November.
You need it, or if you don't, you need a special dispensation or something that says you've tried to get it, but you haven't been able to. That's what it looks like right now, but
And in November,
that's November. This one, you have to have it.
I have to have ID first. And this was the headline, and I just found it. Governor issues budget instructions to state agencies heads. Leaves window open for K-12 funding increases. Beyond that, it doesn't say anything specific.
I'm sure more information will be forthcoming.
Yes.
All right, well, thanks for the report, John, and we can move on to the bills.
Okay, thanks, John. I would make a motion to approve the July 2016 receipts in the amount of $1,920,574.67, and to approve the July 2016 disbursements from July 2016-17 books in the amount of $3,046,751.76, and the June 2016 disbursements from June 2015-16 books in the amount of $200,027.77.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to pay the receipts in the amount of $1,920,574.67 and approve July 2016 disbursements from July 2016-17 books in the amount of $3,046,751.76 and June 2016 disbursements from June 2015-16 books in the amount of $200,027.77. We have a roll call vote, please, Maria.
Mrs. Medina?
Yes.
Mrs. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Creams?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
yes.
Mrs. Lee?
Yes.
Mrs. Heck?
Yes.
Mr. Benoit?
Yes.
Thank you, Maureen. We can move on to new business. Item 8, possible action on employee appointments, resignations, and retirement requests.
The administration has one appointment recommendation. Just before the start of the meeting, I handed out a sheet of paper that lists recommendation of Mary Molsky, appointment to a special education teaching position at the middle school.
Is that a familiar name or is that a new person?
Mary has been a sub-teacher for us for a number of years, did 2 separate long-term sub-jobs in special ed positions last school year for us.
I would move that the information Mary that's on the sheet be approved for Rand's $37,500 for the coming school year.
I'll second.
Okay, we have motion and second to approve the professional staff appointment of Mary Molsky to middle school in the position of special education at a salary of $37,500. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, to move on to discussion and possible action to approve a tentative agreement reached with the custodial and maintenance ASME Local 1075 bargaining units.
Yeah, our negotiations committee, for the few board members that were not there, 4 of the board members were present as part of the negotiation process. We did come to an agreement with the local 1075 group on a CPI increase, which for the current contract year is 0.012%, pretty small amount, but we did come to an agreement with them on that increase percentage. We also came to an agreement on the distribution, which deviated a little bit from a straight percent increase. Working along with Dan on the numbers, the increase was so low that when we calculated out the percent increase, what that resulted in basically put the employees in the group into 2 different categories. Those that were going to get a 2 cent per hour raise, and another group on that percentage that was getting 3 cents per hour raise. And that amount totaled up to being actually the total dollars with that sort of an increase, left a little bit of money left over. If we would have increased everybody to 3 cents, it would have actually rounded to put us over the maximum amounted by the law, which is the CPI increase. So what we came to on an agreement was the little bit of extra amount that was left when we did the 2 cent and 3 cent increments. We put the rest of that increase towards the HVAC position, which we felt collectively, by comparison to the private sector, is a position that really is we're getting a very good deal, I guess I'll put it that way. So we did end up with a larger increase on that one position, which ended up, it was a 9 cent per hour raise for that one position. And then based upon the percentage, all the other employees either got a 2% or 3%. And the 2 or 3%, yeah. Cent, not percent, cent, CENT. Either 2 cents per hour raise or 3 cents per hour raise for all the other employees in the group. So again, the group was in agreement on that distribution. So we left with a tentative agreement that we're bringing to the full board for you to vote on for approval. And then I guess I would turn to John or committee members if there was anything more to add about the process or what the deal involved.
No, I think it was, much as the last couple of years have been, it's straightforward. There isn't a whole lot of discussion. I guess I'd like to give kudos to that group. I mean, when you're sitting there talking about 2 cents an hour, it's almost an insult. But our hands are tied by Madison, so we do what we can do. So they accept it and put a smile on their face and go back to work and do the fantastic job they've been doing, so I give them a lot of respect for that.
Brian, what did you say the percent was?
The CPI percent increase is 0.012%.
The minutes are saying 0.12%. 0.
0.12%.
The point should be between the 0 and the 1.
Yeah, it's 1,200-something%.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, it's 0 point.
No, I'm putting my 0 in the wrong place. It's
Real important.
0.12%.
They only get a penny.
Yes.
They don't get a penny. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you for that correction. Yes.
I would move that we approve the tentative agreement with the custodial maintenance ASME Local 175 at 1.2%. 0.12%. With that wonderful news next year.
Second.
Okay, we have motion and second to approve the tentative agreement that was reached with the custodial and maintenance ASME Local 1075 bargaining unit in the amount of 0.12% wage increase as outlined distribution that Ryan had. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That is approved.
I would like to also echo what John said about the process, that I really appreciate how the custodians came to us and how they understood, and I appreciate all their hard work.
Just one of many groups.
That's right, that's right.
Okay, we can move on to item C, update and review the district crisis action plan.
Okay. We sent, I provided you a kind of a background of all the steps that we've taken. I simply wanted to highlight a couple of things. Last year was our ALICE training for all staff. All administrators went through several-day training, became trainers, and then went out and trained staff members. We did a couple other things last year. We took our time in rolling this out to students and teachers as well. And so all students and staff were trained eventually by the end of the year, and we think that went quite well. And we will continue those practice sessions this year. In January of 2016, we ordered fortification devices, equipment for the doors, which you approved. We also installed Knox boxes at all district buildings. We've had them at just a few buildings prior to that, and that essentially is an outdoor box that's installed on the building that holds a key for the fire department. We had an audit done on site. We had 4 of our buildings reviewed. The safety and security efforts were commended. They felt that, and I know Ed shared that with me, that they found our crisis plan to be one of the better ones that they've seen. So that affirmed the work that we've been doing. All of the BRPS staff also completed a survey regarding, they had the opportunity to. We had 413 responses, and 95% of those, or 98.5% of those were positive in nature. A lot of people felt empowered. They wondered, can we get more of this, that type of thing. But it was found to be very helpful. We appreciated the opportunity to do the actual scenario training. There was a feeling of empowerment, etc. In spring then, we had a review of the ALICE implementation safety initiatives. And now we're bringing it to you, as we do every 3 years, to review the plan and update the plan. So those were just some of the highlights. We continued to meet with law enforcement on an almost monthly basis last year to work through this whole ALICE implementation, so we took our time doing that. From there, I would simply point out some of the differences. Primarily, it's the date. Names have changed. We also then, on page 1, we put in armed intruder, violent assailant, because the individual may not always be armed. We didn't want it to just simply people to be thinking that it's a person that's armed. Page 2, we simply changed some names of people that are in the building crisis response team leadership and at the district level as well. And then from there, the primary changes took place at the very end of the plan, the last 4 pages. And that was really just updating and implementing the ALICE protocols. So that we included that in what some of the staff development was, and how we dealt with some of the things emotionally, the exterior physical features, and so on. So other than that, there really weren't changes to be made. Again, we review this with law enforcement each year, and we'll be doing it again this fall. And I don't know if you have questions?
I just have a question. At the elementary buildings, there was in the past, I'm sure there still are a lot of parents picking up their students at the end of the day that would walk in to the foyer area, the cafeteria area, wait for children to come out. How was this received with the iPhone, with the door now not being open?
I have not heard, well, first of all, we started it in the fall when the weather was still nice. Mm-hmm. So that was a positive where people had the opportunity to figure it out and how to learn how it worked. The doors are unlocked just a few minutes before the end of the day in our buildings so that parents can still get in. And Ed, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes?
10 minutes after school starts.
It's locked.
But
prior to the end of the school day.
That's kind of up to the building. It's within 10 minutes.
So it's within the 5 to 10 minute range.
Yep.
That they'll unlock to allow parents and generally they're staying in that area, whether it's a cafeteria or a foyer area. So I can't say I've heard, I haven't had complaints. I think the principals, handled it how it best would work at each individual building. We also had similar comments, I know, from parents, it's about time, which is what staff were saying, so.
These are all things we hope we never have to use, but it's wonderful to have in place.
Well, it's one more piece in place, so. Other questions?
I had one question about that one video. Was that not included where the kids took over and took care of the intruder? Remember?
Was it included?
Well, there was a video that they
Right.
showed
That
us.
we showed you.
And one part of it was kids in the video.
Oh, the
overtaking-
counter, kind of the counter.
Right, and I didn't.
We didn't train kids to do that. No. And in fact, at the elementary level, we talked to them about rally points. We talked to them about rally points, where to meet outside, should they need to evacuate the building, and then they practice an evacuation for any number of reasons. So we kept it pretty low key. And at the secondary level, it may have been discussed that those are some things you could do, but it was not practiced.
I just didn't want them to feel that they were tough and it was their will.
And I've made it clear too that I don't want staff to feel that they are compelled to do that. I think there are certain people in this room who will do it naturally, and certain people who will respond differently. So I think it will happen whether we train them to or not. I think it'll be an instinct.
I'm sure this is a learning process. We'll find out how it works.
I think we're going to find out.
Just in practice.
But we continue to train.
Thought.
So I make a motion to approve the updated.
You don't have any action on that. No, it's just an update. Thank you, though.
It's an update.
Come on, motion approved.
Okay, we can move on to item D, update and discussion on the purchase of electronic surveillance equipment for use in district buildings.
So Phil was not able to be here, and I told him I would be happy to share that. I also told Kevin he didn't need to come here at another meeting to attend. We have about anywhere between 700 and 800 8th and 9th graders here at East. And we started looking at cameras. They have them at Lincoln, and we've decided, we want to gradually work our way through the district and have cameras in and outside. 5 years ago, the cameras used to be probably about $1,000 a piece, and what we're looking at right now are about $225 a piece. We're looking at 18 or so in total. They're high definition. They'll be inside and outside. I'm bringing this to you now because we're closing in on the end of the bid process, but we aren't quite there. So I did not want to bring a motion forward to you to throw a price out there. At this point in time, we'll be bringing something to you probably in September. So the purchase will likely have been made by that time. The cost includes, and then we've done that before. We've tried to make a purchase and we'll have them installed before school begins. I was talking to Kevin. He said they're really excellent quality. They are the same kind that they use in Lincoln. They could be moved if necessary. They're hardwired. The cost includes what we're looking for in the RFP is installation, delivery, programming, the license agreement, reset the password and so on, so that we are the ones that have access. But right now we have the trays already in the hallways that hold the wiring, so, other wiring that we have in the building, so all they really need to do is just run it through there. Ed, I don't know if you have anything to add to that. It's just kind of an overview to let you know that this expenditure is coming, and we're
So
thinking...
far, we've gotten the 3 bids, and the kind of, what we did initially is found out trouble spots from Kevin as far as where to place the cameras, and then we have a kind of a rough bid on those.
But we don't want to share numbers because
Right.
we don't want to mess with the process right now.
And then just a few cameras for outside. And this will be a kind of an initial framework. We may add cameras as need arises later, but I think we need to do something. This is one of the recommendations too from our security audit we have done. So this school in particular, just because of the number of kids, the age, it's a deterrent more than surveillance piece of equipment. If the cameras are hanging there, kids respect things a little more.
So we wanted you to be aware of that purchase coming your way, and again, the purchase will likely be made just towards the end of the process, and I think we're working with those numbers, and hoping that forward to.
Thank you for the update on that. And the last item tonight is discussion and possible action to approve of recommended changes to Board Policy 132, Board Member Resignation, and Board Policy 133, Filling Board Vacancies for first reading.
Well, I don't really have anything to add to the background that we presented to you. I guess I would ask if there are questions about the policy. We have to have something in place to fill a vacancy. We did have a conversation, well, I guess an email conversation. I called last week because I said, what happens if somebody is on the ballot, for example, and then decides to resign in January prior to the April election? Or what if somebody's maybe not on the ballot but decides to resign prior to the election? And it appears that there would either be a write-in process, and if somebody didn't then, come out as a vote getter on that write-in process, we would go to the policy then following the election and fill that vacancy.
I find reading through that, in one part where there would be a written ballot, the new one indicates that the individual board members would sign that ballot. Is that true?
Yes, because you can't vote, you have to identify who you're voting for.
But
You can't be a secret ballot
In other words, you would have a ballot, but you would sign your name.
let's say I'm voting for John. I'd write John's name, then I'd write my name on the ballot.
Correct. Maybe secret ballot.
That's interesting because the last time that we did that, where we went through all the candidates and had 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, there was no name on the ballots.
But we discussed it. I remember this.
But there wasn't.
Right.
So.
Well, not so. When we looked at desirable qualifications, I guess the bullet points that we shared there, we would be perhaps the interview process, we would ask, get at those qualities, if that was something that you agreed to, that those qualifications or qualities, and then an individual could come out in the interview process once you do that. Which is why they're not specifically listed. Some to some degree are, but most are not listed specifically in the policy.
And the polls.
What's that?
And the polls. I would move. Unless you want to help.
No, I just didn't know if there were other questions.
I would move that we approve the recommended changes for policy 132, board member resignation. Attachment A and policy 133, filling board vacancies, attachment B for first reading. Second.
We have motion to second to approve recommended changes to Board Policy 132, Board Member Resignation, which is attachment A, and Board Policy 133, Filling Board Vacancies, which is attachment B for first reading. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
And just to mention, that brings us in, that'll go for a second reading, of course, but that'll bring us into agreement with the current one.
Sounds good. And looking forward at the calendar, please note that the September meeting is on the 6th, which is a Tuesday, because the 5th is Monday. So with that, thank you.